Welcome back to the Greater Than Ever podcast. I'm your host, John Algandi. I bring on special guests from athletes, coaches, and people in the industry and outside the industry. I learn about them and their history and what made them successful and how people can learn from them how to be greater than ever. Stopping by for conversation, she's a mother, a wife, a former college athlete from Waynesburg University, an IFBB Olympian, and someone who I consider a great role model in our sport. She actually started competing in bikini in the OG days. Many years later, when wellness was announced, she decided to give it a try. Being from CrossFit was her background and also continuing to be active. She turned pro at the USA's in 2022, winning the overall title there, and she started competing right away on the circuit. She's taken a lot of second and fifth places, but that never stopped her determination from qualifying for the Olympia in 2024. She finally got her first pro win at the 2024 Houston Pro and got to her first Olympia, a lifetime goal. She started competing very late, and I think people can learn a lot from her and her journey and how she got to where she is today, and that determination. And you want to be successful in life, leave something that people can remember you for, make the world a better place. Here's my next guest, Jeni Zollars. I just wanted to make sure I added one more question in just so I was had everything going. But I'm happy to have you on, Jennifer. Or do you want to call me Jeni?
Sure, Jeni works.
All right. So I wanted to bring you on because I've been following your journey since, you were just one of the most relentless pros that I've seen. And I was just like, I get attracted to that when I see someone just keeps going, they go through it and they had the adversity. And that's one thing that I really commend you doing, especially with when you started. So wanted to bring you on, not just to talk about just bodybuilding in general, but just as you as an athlete, you in your life and how you got to where you are today. That's kind of what I feel like people can learn from. So starting with you, you're originally from Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, I'm just south of Pittsburgh by about like 20 minutes.
Okay. So you were a multi-sport athlete and you went to Waynesburg, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And how I actually know that because my high school teammate who was a senior, he was a year above me. He's in the ROTC program. I think he's like Army Marines right now. He was going to Waynesburg for football, and I just said, man, I like that burnt orange and white, like that University of Texas colors. I always liked that color.
They're
I
tough.
don't know. I know. I always thought of like, man, I'd love to wear that, like white helmet, white face mask, like burnt orange and white. Like in away games, are all white, everything. So
I
yeah,
love
that's you were you were a basketball player and a track athlete, right? Am I not
it.
mistaken?
Yes.
Okay. And so you were like in sports your whole life almost, right?
Track was just to keep me in shape for basketball, but I ended up breaking a couple records in college too, and that was unintentional. It was just like, all right, I'll help out the team, the 4x1, but it's just keeping me in shape for basketball. And then we ended up breaking the school record and then a couple other records too. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it just kept me in school for like a little bit, a couple more weeks after school was over. But I was like, man, I just want to get into my summer now. But
All right. So you were so after school so after graduating college, what was career like and what kind of like got you initially into like, bodybuilding and like the competing side of things? Cuz it's kind of like when you stop playing sports, it's hard to sink in. It's like, what to do now. It's kind of like hard to get that motivation, going to doing something. And we've seen it. Even my teammate who was my quarterback, he went to Stanford. It's like when he realized he was never going to play football anymore, even go to the NFL, he was kind of like, no, now what? So what was
yeah,
that for you? What was that like? What was like, well, I still want to, be active. I still want to, be athletic. And what
yeah.
was that transition like and going into what career what were you doing at the time?
As soon as I graduated, it was kind of the now what do I do type of deal.
Yeah.
And I've always been the type of athlete like I need a date to be ready by. I need a date to shoot for, and that was why I loved basketball. It's like game this week, practice, I have a game. So it was always something to do. So when I graduated, I was like, well, I was working out, but I didn't really have any motivation or purpose. So I go, I just need something. What do I do? So I jumped into bikini just on a whim, and that was like in 2010 to 2012. I did a
Oh,
couple shows, and the feedback was always, your legs are too big, your legs are too big, your legs are too big. And I'm like, well, I'm just getting started. I'm only 22, 23, couldn't really figure it out. So eventually, like my real career took off. So like, okay, I got to put bodybuilding to the side. I kept training, and then I got into CrossFit, and I really enjoyed the toughness of it with Olympic weightlifting, the gymnastics, and it was a new way to push myself. So with CrossFit, you have to be good at like everything. You have to be strong. You have to be like a gymnast. You have to have great conditioning. And it just was something I loved. It was always something to work for, to get better at. And then COVID happened. So then all the CrossFit competitions shut down. So like, now what do I do? So I need to do something. So, and then they announced wellness. And I went, maybe I should do that because we were starting to do a little bit of bodybuilding movements at home while everything was shut down. I go, I kind of like this. I kind of like not beating the crap out of my body for CrossFit, but I get to actually see the results, the aesthetic part of it, not just the performance.
Yeah.
And I didn't really like how I looked in CrossFit too. I was very, very top heavy. So like I want to look like the wellness girls, and I do have like a base from all the Olympic weightlifting for my lower half. So that was the biggest transition when I started in wellness was bring the upper body down and my core, because with CrossFit, Olympic weightlifting, and gymnastics, your core has to be really strong and has to be really big. So that was a good 2 years that I really had to like my oblique, really taper in my weight. And before I knew it, USA's was just on a whim. It was kind of like, let's just see what happens. If we squeak by with a pro card, great. If not, oh well, we'll reevaluate what we're going to do. And then we ended up winning the whole thing. And I went,
Yeah.
oh, this is what we're doing. Okay. And then the Manions go, well, there's the Texas Pro in 2 weeks. I go, okay. They go, we'd like you to do your pro debut at that. I go, really? Okay. So then that's where it started, and the competitive bug, I should say, of I want to see how far I can take this just took off. And I was like, I want to do another. I want to do another. I want to see how far I can get. And I just kept knocking on that door for like a good 2 years. It was like
Yeah.
fifth second, fifth
Yeah.
second. I never
I
got
actually want to
third.
talk about every year, year by year, actually, with that, because
Yeah.
it was. I mean, it was happening a lot, and you have that competitive nature, like, and that was one thing I liked was like she's really competitive. You never had like for the past 3 years, you were always second, fifth, so you were very consistent.
Mhm.
It was just kind of like fitting the criteria at the time because it was a new division at the time. But I'm actually blown away. Like you were in bikini like early like 2010s. Like
Yeah.
wow.
Not Google those pictures. Those are old. Don't look those up.
I did not know that at all. Like, well, I'll be honest with you. When bikini started, I didn't like it at all. I didn't like because of the posing, and it was kind of like a pageant girl. That was kind of the idea how it is versus what it is now. It was kind of like that pageant girl. I didn't like how they did that front pose where like slanted side. I'm like,
Hmm.
when I was trying to go for a DPT, and I'm like, oh, they're back. I'm like her lower back. I'm like her lumbar. I'm like, oh, geez, they need to say chiropractor after this, and
Yeah.
now it's much better how it's evolved. So I think it's got better over time, but you did a couple before, so you did your first NPC show for wellness at the Ohio.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, how far if from Pittsburgh to like Ohio? How far was that for a drive-in, or did you fly there?
I drive. That was like 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
Lived like 5 minutes from it. So like, okay, that just makes sense to drive to her house, see how I do at this competition, then just see what happens.
And you won that in the overall as well,
I didn't
or
win the
oh, you won the
yeah. So it was kind of like getting my feet wet with it, and I still was kind of like just seeing how I do with this, and it just took off. And I was still like really little at that time, so I went to Universe that November because the category was still new, and
yeah
I wasn't standing against like the big dogs like Garish did Universe. I just stand next to her just to see how much bigger I need to get or how much more I need to put into this. So I knew I wouldn't come away with a pro card at that one, but I just wanted to see next to like somebody that's bigger than me of what do I need to do? And that was the gaslit fire underneath my ass that standing next to her realizing, oh, this is how far I got to take this. And I put pedal to the metal after that, and the rest is history.
I'm sorry I'm sorry if you kind of broke up. Who's her?
Ureshna.
Oh wow, did she win the overall at that one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Oh yeah, she did. I was like, I forgot who won nationals. I thought she won nationals, but yeah, it was because she's from.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We went through it. So you did Universe that year, and yeah, I mean, that's she was one of the big names, coming out in the following year. But so in 21 you did North Americans, and how did you do in that one?
I did okay. I took 10th in that one, and it still just wasn't enough. At that time, I made a switch up with coaches, and I needed somebody that pushed me harder, that didn't, I would say, take it easy on me, because I would run through a brick wall if you told me to. But I needed that guy to really be like, all right, if you
Yeah.
want to be the best, we got to push you hard. So I just kept leveling up after that with coaching and really diving into it more. And you really do have to be a student of the sport, no matter what category you're in. So the more I learned, the better I got. And the more I stood on stage, I know a lot of people say if you need to grow a lot, you need to stay away from the stage. But in a sense, that just lights the fire even more. If you do step on stage occasionally and be like, all right, how much more do I need to grow? Okay, we tackled that. We got to address something else. So I'm a big firm believer in stepping up to the pressure, and I feel like pressure is a privilege, and I really thrive in chaos. So chaos at me and I will nail it every time.
Yeah. So then the f- you so then you moved up a placement from University of North Americans, and then you turned pro at the USA's, and you won the overall. How
Hmm.
was that? People always say like the USA's is one of the most prestigious like amateur shows in the whole country, and you winning that, you calling yourself Miss USA or Mr. USA. It's like you're like always going to be someone that's talked about. I mean, I know it's like in the past couple of years, it's not been kind of such a big deal. Even the Mr. USA winner's not really talked about as much, but I always saw it as like the like prestigious show. I always think of like legends like Phil Heath, Steve Kuklo, Cormier. I always think those were like you're in that conversation, and always that. But you turn pro at the USA's, and then you're like, I'm going to go for it at the Texas Pro, and you took fifth place there. Your first pro show experience from going from amateur to pro, you were like you were up for it, you were ready to go. What was it at that Texas Pro show? And it was one of the biggest shows, and that production is just awesome. I mean, my teammate, he in classic physique, Zay, won the overall at nationals last year, and he did Texas Pro this year. He goes, John, it was like no other like show I've ever been to. It was like it was awesome. It was a great like athlete and fan experience. So your
Yeah.
experience at that time, I mean, how was it like?
It really was amazing because you had all the categories show up. It's not
Yeah.
just one of the smaller pro shows where you might have one or two pro categories. It was everybody. So for me to be that first experience for me, I was like, wow, I feel honored to be on this stage with everyone too, to be considered one of the pros and to be a competitive pro too. So it was like, wow, this is one of the biggest shows to do this on. So now I really see where I stack up with everybody, and to see so much greatness surrounded me. I was just like, wow, like I really felt very just grateful in that moment. And it was the best kickoff to my career.
Yeah. Was that the one that Andrew Jack did his pro debut in?
Hmm.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Oh
he was.
yeah.
I went, whoa, that's a big guy.
I think you had a photo with him if I recall.
I didn't. I did
Oh.
when he was talking to everybody, but I was like, not only is he big muscular wise, but he's tall too, and you don't many tall bodybuilders. So I was like, whoa, that is a very tall man.
I've always said like if he walks in the room, you look at him and you're like, that's Mr. Olympia.
Yeah,
Like you just have that, you just that presence, and being in that big show, you being around that presence, it kind of got you prepared for what was ahead.
yeah.
So you did your second show. Which was it? Was it a class show, I believe? And you
That
took
was.
second there.
Hmm.
And then you decided to call it a year because you've been prepping almost all year.
I did Hawaii not long after that. It
Oh
was.
yeah.
Yeah, but I actually got COVID the week before. So I was really sick preparing for that. But it was like we already bought the plane tickets, we already bought everything. And I still looked okay. I didn't look my best, but I was like, okay, let's see how well we can do. I still looked all right on stage, but you could tell I was sick. And I was still fighting it. Like the fever was still up and down even while I was in Hawaii. But that was still a cool experience to learn. And that both of those shows, The Clash and Hawaii, taught me how even though there's a certain criteria to follow, it taught me how the judges see things a little bit differently,
Yeah.
how they interpret the criteria. So it's just, it was just a very good learning experience, I should say, all around.
And how'd you do at the Hawaii show?
I took eighth at that one.
Oh, okay. So that was the one time you were outside top five because I was looking at I didn't seem to find. I think they NPC News spelled the name your name wrong. So
Oh,
me,
probably.
yeah. But it's okay, you know. Hey, listen, it was like you said, it was all a learning experience, especially for your first year as a pro. I would say that you had a pretty successful rookie season in your what you accomplished, and so that's something that you always took back. But going into 2023, that's when I was like, she wants it. Like in there was so this was the time where it's like no, it was there was no point system. They said you got if you win it, you're in it.
Hmm.
So 2023, you came right out. You get second at the Houston Pro, and then you get second at so your Houston Pro show was that the one where it was no it was in 24 was that who was it who I forgot who it was but was it a 1 point decision was it really close
When I
in,
won 24, that was a 1 point decision.
in 23 it was straight across
Actually, I think that was a 1 point decision too, I think.
yeah okay so like you're right there you're like I'm gonna like that was that something that like kept you fired up like I kept going you kept going because you know when to like I feel like you're one of those competitors that knows like I'm very competitive but I kind of know when to pull back and I know when to like not push the envelope and take it too further. And that's one thing I've noticed. I'm like, you know your body very well. You know, like you're training and like you know if this is your feedback, go back to the gym, apply and do things differently. And
Hmm.
so, what was something different you trained or did in 2023 to keep your that consistency forward?
Well, the big part was they said your upper body's still a little bit too big, and it was starting to get almost out of the category, making me too symmetrical. And for wellness, they want the imbalance of a
Yes.
bigger half. So that was just more work to pull that down a little bit more and to really nail that conditioning. I either looked really good shredded, but they didn't like me full. So it was kind of that one that went back and forth between certain conditioning.
Yeah.
I think there are some other girls that go back and forth too until I found out what the judges like to see me as. And there are certain judges that do like me leaner. There's some that like me fuller. So that was also a back and forth. And then right after the Pittsburgh Pro, so that was in May that same year,
Yes.
Houston and Vancouver. So right after that, I tore my hamstring. So
Oh.
yeah,
Oh.
yeah, that was pretty gnarly. And someone at the time, like my former coach, tried to talk me into retiring. I go, no, I'm not
What?
retire. So I switched up coaches at that point, and I was like, my biggest goal is to just get back on stage to say that I made it back. I'm not really going for a certain placing. I just want to make sure that I can get back and just set a good example for everyone else. So don't give up. Like just
Yeah.
at least back to the stage. And then before I knew it, I got back on stage. And at Phoenix, I took fifth. And I went, oh, okay. So the goal was to just get back on stage. But then, it was like a week later. So I went, hmm. So I have that competitive nature in me. So I'm like, all right, let's do this again. And then I took second at that one. So
Yeah.
it was like,
Oh, yeah. That was. I was actually going to get into that. That second place at the Legion. I was like you're right there, and I was watching that like watching the live stream for the whole show, and I will even say even the commentate. I'm not saying this because you hear it. Even the commentators like she's right there to wait it. This is like her time, and then you took second, and they were like even they commentators got quiet. I was like, what? I
yeah.
felt like you brought a great physique, and I think that should have got you qualified. But I felt like maybe good things happen for a reason. You showed resiliency. So, going to your hamstring injury that you just mentioned, what were the ways that you helped yourself recovery? And obviously, it was 4 months from Pittsburgh up into Arizona that you took off. So, what were the ways that you helped recover and managed to do that with training and everything?
Well, the hardest part was just even walking from like my front door to my car. So
Yeah.
just walking in general, you don't realize how much you engage your hamstrings with. So I was like, oh my God, like I can't even function as a person. So I literally took it 1 week until it started healing. And when I get back to rehab, I had to do a lot of band work. So I was like, my biggest thing with making things is I got to figure out a way to make this work. I got to figure it out. So I started with bands, just simple curls with the band around my heel. and just the other one on my other foot. And I was like, okay, I can move a little bit. So let's try a little bit of deadlifting, just a little bit with maybe just one dumbbell. So it was literally a progression each week of what my leg can handle. And then I got back into rowing too. I used to do rowing all the time for CrossFit, but that at least was a little bit of mobility, like rehab work for my hamstring to just get it in that flexion movement to keep it moving. So I was like, okay, I can do that too. So it was a little bit of everything. And a lot of ISO holds whenever I could progress to weight machines. So the isolated holds really helped me with the slow tempo movements because I couldn't go heavy, obviously. So it was just more time under tension, which actually helped build that back up. And I think
Mhm.
that's the best my hamstrings have looked when I came back.
You know, you went through it and you're just like, you know what? If I can pull through this, I don't have to call it a year. It was a long qualification period. I think it ended um like middle of October because the Olympia was in November of that year. So you go to Legion and you're right there to win it. And unfortunately, you know, it was the second place, you know, finish, and it was kind of devastating. So my question was, did you have that like self doubt, like, you know, maybe my coach was right, maybe I should stop, or you know what, there's a plan, you know, God's plan. I definitely think in the future I'm right there to win it. Was that kind of like the mindset going in, you know, for the following year?
I mean, if there's go. And I actually teach this with my girls as a coach. I go, you're going to feel everything. You're going to feel happy. You're going to feel super disappointed. You're going to feel like the world is ending. And I felt literally all the emotions. One, I was really happy because when they announced me as second, the whole crowd went quiet. Literally everybody went quiet, like what just happened. And I actually felt bad for the winner, Victoria, because she's my friend and we actually chat occasionally. And there wasn't much applause when they announced her. So I grabbed her and I gave her a hug and I said, go enjoy the Olympia. So I was trying to be a brave, tough person in that moment to like cheer for her. I said, go enjoy the Olympia. Go have fun on that stage. And I gave her a big hug, like a good send off of like, you earned it today. Go enjoy it. And literally that night I was upset. I was crying. Not gonna lie, I got shit faced in my hotel room. Ate all the things. You're not human if you don't feel all the things. So,
Yeah.
and I don't like to sugarcoat things. How everyone's like, oh, that pro, like, she just smiled and went on to the next show. I mean, there are shows where I'm like, okay, not today. And I move on to the next one. That one did hurt because I felt like I was so close so many times. And to hear the crowd go quiet, knowing the same thing that I knew at that time, I was like, man, that sucks. That hurts, right?
Mhm.
So, but I don't like to be a crybaby. So it's like I had my moment in privacy. And then I don't blast things all over social media because I'm not that type of person to whine and cry about it.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, had my moment. I'm moving on. What do I do next? Take the feedback. Got the feedback from the judges. I go, here's what I do in the off season. They wanted bigger glutes. Done. We'll do that and we'll show up next year.
And I really like that you, and I remember that moment when you were hugging Victoria. I will tell you this, like, you kept it professional, you know, you gave respect, you know, you didn't want to take away someone's moment,
Mm.
you know, like looking down and not like giving, like, say, you know, congratulations, you know, you're a great sport in everything you do. And, you know, that's really a great champion, a great representation of what I think it's about. You know, you see, I mean, yeah, you know, I've been runner up a couple times. I mean, but I have to say this: the better person won. You know, the one that we can only control what we bring. And you know, unfortunately, what people, even if I was, for instance, I was in Pittsburgh, I was like about almost 10 feet away from the judging panel. They could see something different that I see, and you know, I mean, I will say this: you kept it very good, and you yeah, it's we have that disappointment, you know, it's like, you know, being a runner up, you have that summits fever, you know, you're like, I'm right there, I'm right there, I'm right there. It's like, you know, can I ever make it? But you kept it very well and professional. And obviously that's something you passed on. And I will tell you this, if we're gonna get into 24 season, your daughter is so proud of you and everything that you do. You
Yeah,
know, how old is she right now? So to ask if you
she's 11,
oh,
actually.
okay. And she understands everything. But she's happy to see her mom up on stage, right?
She is. She's
Yeah.
so proud. She like cries every time. But
Yeah.
I do always say things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And not only do I teach her that, but I have nine other sixth grade girls that play basketball that I try to teach them the same. Like things aren't going to go our way. shows aren't going to go my way. I'm not going to win. I'm going to be so close. And we've actually just had a couple basketball games where they've lost by 1 point. And I go, this isn't going to be the last time that you guys face adversity.
Yeah.
So, and it's my job to be um, a leader of example. I'm not one to preach, but as long as I could lead by example and show them this is how I handled it, it's okay to cry. It's all right to have a moment. I said, but now we get back to work.
Yeah.
So, and
So,
God always has a plan. So I go, it's just not today. Maybe he just knew today wasn't my day. He knew I wasn't going to be ready. So I always teach them as well. I said, he has a perfect plan for us. It might not be today. There's a lesson in everything. I said, if you can pull a lesson from every loss, then that's a win itself.
yeah. So in 2024, that's the 60th anniversary of the Olympia. It's back in Las Vegas. It's not in Orlando. Um, some people were. Did you consider doing the Arnold Classic, or you kind of like, no, I just want to have. I just want to win one show at first. I mean, it's a prestigious show. It's they fly you in, they do all that, but you didn't you didn't you didn't think about doing the Arnold. Did you consider? Or you're kind of like, nope, I'm going to just focus on Houston getting back and try to win in that show.
Actually, I did apply for the Arnold and I didn't get invited. So that was always a bucket list on my like career goals of before I retire, do the Arnold. And I applied, I didn't get it, and it's okay. And now that I'm switching to figure this upcoming year, they don't have figure at the Arnold, or I would have applied for that. So I know that's future into our story, but that's still on my career goals. Hopefully they bring figure back, and if they do, I'll apply again.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's, number one thing is with them is the sponsors and, obviously with everything going on, they care about what's going to draw numbers and all. And figures been doing great, I mean, I'm happy with this new era with Rhea, and, Rhea is an awesome competitor. And I definitely think that it's showing in the pros that it's getting more competitive. It's not just like you see that. I don't know if you've seen that girl, Denise from Germany.
Yes, I love her.
I'm like, she was winning like 3 shows, and I'm just like, man, like if she keeps it going, like that is someone like to to be contending with the top girls with. And I'm like, she just came out of nowhere.
She's one of those that step on stage and you just go, wow.
I
Like,
know.
like that type of athlete that just commands your attention. You go, that one's going to be something one day. And
Yeah,
her this year, I went, she's going to be something. Maybe next year, who knows?
yeah. So unfortunately, Arnold didn't happen, but you go into after 6 months from October from the Legion, go to the Houston Pro, and then did the announcer say this is a 1 point decision, or is just like fifth, fourth, second?
We didn't see the score sheets till later.
Oh, the MC was not like this is a 1 point decision, or no?
No, no, they didn't.
So so then you win that show, and I remember just that emotion you had, and I will say that was like probably one of the best moments earlier that year. And just seeing you win, like all that hard work, it meant something. I even messaged you, it's like all that for all those times, you've had
Yeah.
you were right there. It's like this was absolutely worth it. So
Oh, yeah. It's whenever that moment happened and I finally heard my name, even though they announced the other person in second, I said, I'm still not going to like let it sink in until I hear my name. And it still just hit me like a ton of bricks. And it just seems like the weight of the world is lifted off your shoulders. And it's like,
yeah,
wow, like I finally earned it. Like God finally thinks I'm worthy enough for this.
yeah. And you got to go to your first Olympia that year, and you did do you did Charlotte, and I remember Tyler's feedback was, to come in tighter and bring your glutes up to match the legs. And so
Mhm.
from that feedback, what was training? You took second in Charlotte. What was the training different from that show going into the next one?
I actually went back to the drawing board a little bit and did what worked for my hamstring coming back from that hamstring tear was a lot of isolation tempo holds. And
Hmm.
so even when I'm coaching other girls, I like to test things out on myself first to make sure like it is like a tested practice. So in my opinion, time under tension and tempo reps really helped my lower body grow a lot. Just in those couple months. And it was like, wow, I didn't realize it until I did that warm up show in Reno for Legion. I was like, wow, like I'm a lot bigger than I thought I was. But
Yeah. So what is something and we're gonna get to talk about your Olympia experience. What was for wellness? I work with some people as well. And I've kind of seen some programs. What I see sometimes it's at least three to four leg, like if they, is it a leg glute split, or is it like um quad focus day, hamstring focus day? What is kind of like the way you train for wellness?
It depends on what the body looks like. So if there's a certain body part that's lacking more than another, of course you hit that a little bit harder. But that summer going into the next couple of shows, because it was pretty proportionate from quad to hamstring to glutes, I could train everything pretty equally. So I would do a quad and glute day, a glute day only, and then a hamstring day only. So, but of course you do engage your quads a little bit in certain glute movements. So that's the way it worked. And my hamstring was actually still repairing and it was still just didn't feel right. So stiff legged deadlifts were out. So those were out for a good maybe year and a half before I was confident enough to try them again. So I was like, man, I hope like it doesn't ruin anything if I can't do any kind of stiff legged or Romanian deadlifts of any kind. So I was like, let's just see what happens. And yeah, didn't do any kind of deadlifting for a year and a half. So I don't like to say keep it out completely because I did notice that my glutes shortened a little bit for that tie-in area. I would say after that period. So you do need to work them in eventually. So you can't just do your whole career without doing deadlifts. You have to get them in eventually. And this year was the best year that I've had with actually incorporating those back in. So my glutes started to lengthen back again.
Okay. And you're still recovering from your hamstring injury, even when after the wins, even after the shows and your pro win?
A little bit, yeah. It's
Okay.
still in a certain spot if I just overstretch too far. So I have to shorten my range of motion, but it still works. I always make everything work.
Yeah. And you didn't have, and you're not seeing like like a specialized, like a physical therapist or any of that. You're kind of like you're doing your own thing.
I do. I go to a chiropractor occasionally and I get
Okay.
deep tissue massage. So, or if they see there's an imbalance, but they said it's healing great and it's fine, just get routine maintenance on it occasionally.
Okay. And that's really, man, like that's awesome how you're able to manage and go through that. I mean, you have a amazing physique, like an amazing athletic physique. And I will say this, like a lot of people wish they had their athleticism, and that came from the sports and all that. So that's kind of like how you, how do you do like training programs? How do you do like your like periodization and different modalities based off like, do you go off based off what's lacking in an athlete, or like what is something, how do you approach working with different clients and like for instance wellness or any other division?
It depends on one, what the criteria is and what the athlete is already presenting me with,
Okay.
and then to figure out which body parts grow faster than others on this certain athlete. So when I get a brand new client, say I got one today, it might take me a couple weeks to figure out what they're responding to the most, food and training too. I might have a training program built out for them for 8 to 12 weeks with a deload planned in there. But if their body part is lacking in a certain area, I will update their plan. Be like, all right, we need to hit this a little bit harder or pull back on this one. So that's also getting to know your client as well. I'm not one of those coaches be like, here's your plan, don't bother me, and we'll just check your check-ins. No. If something is lagging, something is messed up, then I'm going to change your plan and I'm going to adjust it so you get the most out of your time so you're not wasting time for the
Yeah.
next like 8 weeks when you could be working on something else.
Yeah. And that's one thing my coach gets on me. He's like, at least submit like 2 to 3 videos of you training, or like even 2 to 3 exercises that you're doing on a certain day, so that he can go and say, this is what needs to be worked on, or this is what you need to do differently. Is that something that you do kind of, or you have a client ask how you're doing a certain movement?
Certain things, like newer clients, or if we've switched up programs, I'm like, just let me see a couple movements and make sure you're getting it done right. One, for safety, and two, to make sure we're loading the group that we do. And if it's one of my seasoned competitors who I've been with for a couple years, they know what I expect of them after a while, and we've trained together a couple times. So they'll still send me videos occasionally, or I'll watch their social media like a hawk to see what they're posting. Like you did that wrong.
All right. Hey, that's awesome. So your first Olympia experience, just being in Vegas, what was that all like? I was trying to find you in the Meet the Athletes, but how they had it set up, I'm like, I was trying to find you. I'm
My
sorry if I couldn't.
so So my own parents were late to the party because they couldn't find me either. So we're like texting my parents. They're like, "Where are you?" So I'm like, "I'm way in the back by the bar." So, but it was such a whirlwind experience. It was definitely busier than your typical show weekend. So there was so much going on that I had to mitigate and be here, 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 and here. But it was an amazing experience, and the girls were amazing. I got to stand next to Francielle for most of it, so I was like, wow, like I'm next to Miss Olympia, and she was super nice. The other girls were super nice. There's like, congratulations, like it kind of like being accepted by your peers, so to speak. So it was kind of like everybody was cool with each other. Like, yeah, we all made it, and everybody was just happy to be there.
Yeah. I think there's about 30, 35, 37 of them out on the stage.
It
So,
was
I mean, it was a pretty big lineup there. So, Franciel is right next to you. I kind of heard that thing with like, I don't know if you remember the 2003 Olympia with Ronnie Coleman and John Davy. Back then, the champion was not the last one up.
yeah,
Ronnie Coleman goes up, next up, John Davy. He's like, oh
yeah.
man. But you're first up, and then Franciele goes off. Was like, in that moment, like I mean, she's totally awesome, and she's an amazing athlete. So you're right there with her. It's like in being compared to the best. That feeling, what was it like when you walking out on that prejudging stage?
That feeling, I was like, I don't even care where I place at this show today. I just get to stand next to her for a minute and just to see what I look like compared to her too, and to see the height difference, the muscle quality, how it's built, and that is the perfect time to really see yourself to say like how far I've come, how far I need to go. And that was just an amazing experience. I know the crowd roared for her, but I pretended I was in that for a minute too. But she was so awesome, and it actually lit me up even more and lit the fire. Like I said, I do better under chaos and pressure. So you give me more pressure, I do even better. So I perform even better. And I'm a completely different person when I'm on stage, and it's just a whole nother world, and I get to be another person or who I truly am inside.
I really like this look, the hair, the makeup, everything, the suit.
Yeah.
I like that purple. I like the purple suit a lot on you a lot.
Oh, thanks. My suit designer is pretty spot on with all of her colors.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, to have that experience, to be like all your hard work, it's I've always said this, like it's 1 to 5% of the world that gets to be on that stage. It's not many people get to, make it. And you're one of the few people to say it, I made it. I for many years in almost a decade of work, this was something that I worked towards. I know people say, you know, so many athletes. I'm like, a lot of people, it's hard. Even you have to appreciate those, NPC worldwide athletes because
Yeah.
it's only one overall winner that gets a pro card, and that's it.
Yeah.
But to see your dreams come true, to be there, it's a amazing experience, and to know that you worked hard for that. That's the best thing, and that's something you're always going to pass down. Like I went through it, I accomplished things, I got to that point in my life, and that's something that once you're an Olympian, always an Olympian. No one's gonna ever take that away from you.
It felt like you're walking the same path as some of the greats. It's like, man, like Chris Bumstead walked this stage. Oh my God, like Sidney Gillen walked this stage. Then you think of Arnold, like everybody's walked this path like across the Olympia stage. And it's like I get to basically walk in their shoes for a hot minute.
Yeah. So post Olympia, after prejudging, did you get to enjoy Vegas with your family, the expo?
I did. Oh my God, that was so fun.
Yeah.
So kind of like after the show was over, we just enjoyed Vegas. And I'm not the type of person to say like I want to go to Vegas. Like that was not even a thought for me, but I really enjoyed Vegas. It was a lot of fun. I got my first two tattoos, so that was like my present to myself. I said I am not going to get a tattoo. These are my very first ones. I'm not going to get one
Wait,
until I
which ones? Where?
get that one.
Oh, okay.
And then I have a new addition.
Yeah,
This
I
is my
noticed that one on your forearm.
This one's new. That's this year.
That looks sick.
Thank you.
Yeah. That
Hans
looks.
Pet does the best in the storm.
Is it a Pegasus?
Hmm.
I could tell. See, that's really good technical application right there. Whoever
Yeah.
did that's phenomenal work.
Oh yeah.
I'm just looking at this from a screen, so I know what's going on. It's legible. It's really cool.
Yeah. The girl that did it, she's like a celebrity tattoo artist here in Pittsburgh, so she's worth every penny.
I'm gonna guess. Is it Sarah Miller?
No, it's her name's Hannah. She works at the Curiosity Shop.
And I'm trying to know who that person was. I know that one. I don't know if you watched that. I know we're kind of getting out of topic, but I don't know if you watched that show, Ink Master. It's
No, I
it's a drama show. It's a
first,
reality show, but it's a skill competition. It's not real tattooing. When you're putting under
yeah,
pressure for a good tattoo under 6 hours with pressure and time, it's not going to be good. It's all skill. It's like
yeah,
versatility. I mean, you're competing for like, I think at the time it was like 100 grand, a feature in Ink magazine, a title of, now it's like almost $250,000. But like, it's an elimination competition, but it's like all about skills,
I-
pretty much.
it is
Like you,
such like just watching her do this. I'm like, wow. Like my bachelor's degree is actually art education, so I appreciate all art forms. So I'm like,
yeah,
this is true talent in an art form to do this, and she's just like, oh, just casual. Like this is my job. What do I do? I go, no, this is art. This is beautiful. So
yeah.
it's just a whole nother ball game, and they've really nailed it.
Was it all one session, or are you continuing it, or
It was two sessions. I actually need a third one to finish it up, but I'm
okay?
about adding more underneath, so we'll see what that looks like later.
That's cool. When I saw your check-ins, I'm like, since when did you get that tattoo? That looks sick. It looks cool, pretty cool.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. So so after 2024 into the 2025 season, you play six, you plays 14th, and then 10th. What do you feel like wellness at that point was kind of like going into this whole different direction?
I
And
actually
I mean, I don't want to make this like a complaint, like rant and stuff. Kind of like I want to hear it from you, as you know, you're
yeah.
competing and you've gone through it.
Actually, before the year even started, my initial thoughts were this is going to be the breakout year where they really solidify what they're looking for and it's going to explode with competitors. I knew it from the get go, and there's nothing wrong with that. Every category goes through that. So I just knew this was the big evolution year where they really nail it. They have more competitors, so it's going to get harder. You're going to have more and more better girls on stage. So I knew it would go either way for me. Either I'd do really well or really poorly or in the middle, somewhere around there. So you always go for a win, but you have to expect things can happen that you don't expect. So going from St. Louis, even though I cut down a little bit more to Pittsburgh, I really liked that look, but I still wasn't big enough. And I've always been one of the smaller wellness competitors. I knew that. I've always known that. And so I have to work a little bit harder. And then after Shreveport, I could tell my body was tired going into Shreveport, but the I just could not. I think that's when I realized I couldn't put the amount of muscle on that they require for the category now that they've solidified it. And I was kind of defeated after that one of like, now what do I do? It's like, this is definitely not the ideal season. This is not the ideal year. I went dark with my hair. I needed to reset it for a little bit. So that was one of the feedbacks was we like you better as a blonde. You stand out a little bit more. That's what we know you as.
Yeah,
And one of the other judges in Shreveport, he said, come and talk to me after the show. I was like, okay, because I was pretty upset. Like, I just didn't know what to do with myself. Like, do I continue on and try to, keep beating on that door? And he said, some of us have always talked, you carry yourself like a figure competitor. You've always walked very athletic. And that's always been my feedback, too, is I walked very athletic. And that's part of my background with basketball and CrossFit. So they're like, we think you'd be one hell of a figure athlete if you decided to do that. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So for like another 6 weeks after Shreveport, I couldn't let go of my ego to be like, maybe I should try figure. But then I kept seeing how the shows were going for wellness in that time frame. So I was like, okay, this is really what they want for wellness. And I don't know if I can, my lower body can keep handling that. So I actually got a little bit burned out with hammering lower body so much, and I love a new challenge. I always need something new to shoot for, and I was like, if I want to keep doing this, I want to love it again. So I didn't train for body for like a good year, and I go, I missed training. So let's just see what happens. And I took the judges' feedback and I just started training, getting back into it a little bit. And it just seemed like my upper body just blew up in just a couple weeks. I was like, holy shit. So I was like, okay, they're right. And my upper body does grow faster than everything
yeah,
else. So we could still maintain, they said, maintain the lower half that you have for figure, just build up the upper body. I was like, okay. So we still build up the little lower body just a little bit over the last couple months. Um, so now we're pretty proportionate everywhere else, and I'm just enjoying it again and loving it again. And again, whatever happens next year happens. But I do want to shred down after spending what, like 6 or 7 months in a good off season. I want to see what I built underneath to see if anything else needs tweaked. But it's like I'm at the point where I need to do a show just to see what's under there, what I've built, to get some of the off season fluff off. So I think we're targeting something in early April for 2026.
Okay. And you're in, are you with a new coach now, or are you kind of like doing things on your own?
Yep, I'm with a new coach.
Okay. So like, I feel like for you, you mean it's kind of like your body wants to grow. It's like you've always wanted to have a bigger upper body. You've always had that, like, almost, it's it's almost like you're trying to hold yourself back
Yeah,
in wellness, kind of like, because your upper body is like, it's going to just naturally grow, and it's kind of like the natural progression for you. I mean, you have an amazing you have an amazing physique, and everything that you bring in. I feel like when I'm seeing you train, I'm like, she just loves to train. It's
yeah,
kind of like you don't get to do that one part. It's kind of like you don't enjoy what you do and love what you do. It's kind of like where you just want to continue to grow and, be happy in the physique that you built. Because I could tell you this, there's a girl, I don't know if you know her, Zoe Panzerino. She was in bikini since 2017. She decided this year, after Hawaii, that was going to be her last bikini show, and then she did figure at the Atlantic coast, and she's enjoying it. She's like, I get to, finally do what I want to do and not have to like bring myself down, because her upper body grows bigger than her lower body.
yeah.
So, but yeah, um I I might touch on some topics. So I always have a viewer discretion every video. So if there's anything that you don't feel comfortable talking about, that's perfectly fine. Do you feel these are some questions that I've gotten asked, was um what do you believe and see with the wellness division from 2020, from this whole year, from the beginning to like now? What do you think is going to be like, where it's headed to?
I think it is always going to be who's the best athlete stepping on stage,
Yeah.
and it's going to get harder and harder. I mean, that's every category. Bikini is very hard because all the girls look great, and it's like razor thin margins if somebody is better than another one. So I think wellness is going to get tougher and tougher, but I don't think it's going to be the mass monsters. Maybe some shows if that's what the promoter likes or whatnot, but I really think the main look is going to be what they went for, and that's Eduarda and that Camille Luz. I think she has a similar look to her as well,
Hmm.
and I think those two. I think Camille's really going to skyrocket next year as well, and it's going to be her and Eduarda together because I just see that their whole shape just flows naturally. It's not too big. And that's what they've always said. We don't want mass monsters. But at the same time, if that's all that shows up, and say 1 through 10 across the board are all mass monsters, and that's all you have to judge against, the judges are always going to pick who just looked best that day because obviously they can't exclude everybody if that's not the criteria, right?
Yeah.
So somebody has to win. Somebody has to get second. Somebody has to get third. So I think everybody's going to do the best that they can, but I really think it's going to look beautiful next year. It really is. Like Camille Luz. I think
Yeah.
she's gonna really give Eduarda a good run for her money. She's improved so much, and actually, I think in Shreveport she should have done better. I actually had
Oh,
her.
I said the same exact
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, how does she get? So she turned pro, I think, was it in Romania last, like the year she did her first Olympia, and then she won Europa, and she was in that third call out. I'm like, wow, she looks amazing. I think she was just overlooked. And then
Hmm.
this following year, and was the optimum, right? Was Shreveport?
Yes, and I
I
was
was
standing on stage. I was like, she should be in that first call out. Like she should
I
be.
was that show, even for bikini, I was
No,
regret capping. I'm like, what's going
yeah,
on? Listen,
yeah,
we can only, judges can only judge what's there. I'm not gonna say this is bad. I'm not gonna point anybody out, but it was a show that's like, wait a minute. And then she wins Legion. I'm like, finally. But she got
yeah.
first call out at the Olympian. I think believe she got eighth, and I'm like, she looks amazing.
Yeah, she has that long torso, but the bubbly quads, bubbly hams,
I mean,
bubbly.
she's insane from the back. I don't mean, no, this is not to be weird, Jenny. I'm just gonna pull it up. But when I saw this photo, I was just like, what the like she's insane. And I even met her and her husband at the rooftop party at the gala last year, and I was like, I think you come to US, I think you're gonna and start winning here, you're gonna be something great. I mean, when I see this, I'm like, it's insane. Like
Yeah.
that density that she has
Yeah.
already. I think she's 32, 33 years old right now. So she's in a good time.
Yeah. I say you're around your 30s or like the perfect time to peak, so to speak. And I don't think she's done peaking yet. I think she's just getting better and better.
Yeah. And she already qualified, so and that's another she did the Korea show, then she did the Olympia, then she did the Mexico show. So yeah, I think she's got a great future ahead of her. You really think that she's going to be up into that top 5 or even go for the title?
If she brings a similar look or better, I think she could be pushing that top 5 or top 3 spot.
Okay. So what did you think about what's her name? So I would say your top 3 are Eduarda, Isa, Elisa. One person that stood out, and we're gonna talk all wellness right now. So
Yeah, go ahead.
one person I think, what was their name? Kazina, I think her name is.
Is Liza Kazanina?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought she looked great most of the year, but the Olympia was iffy compared to the others. I think she looked smaller compared to
Yeah.
others, looked bigger in other shows. So again, like I love seeing Camille, and I really think she's going to be pushing that envelope next year.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see what it comes to, but I look at wellness I know it kind of sounds discouraging to talk about it, but I consider it kind of like the outlier division where it's like people are kind of like born like with the genetic physique for that because we're seeing more international than US competitors. Yeah, here we are in the US, we make a lot of pros, but I just don't think it's enough to push them into doing into going into the pro level because it's kind of like they don't think they can compete with them or do well at that level. So I know I don't want to be up. Like I said, I'm not trying to be negative into it, but I mean, there are women that have crazy genetics. I mean, we see it up close. I mean, I saw her. I was like, that Camille. I was like, wow, this is insane. Look at that. But I feel like I said in U.S. they we have great girls. We have girls who are built very well, but I feel like to compete with them, unfortunately, they have to take it a little further. And unfortunately, the drug use has increased over the past couple of years to like do well. And I feel like some people don't want to do it and have that bad side effects to it. Was that something that you're kind of like, I'm not going to be pushing more to go against them, and if it doesn't lead any result, was that kind of like another mindset that kind of made you think, I don't think I can do wellness anymore?
That was part of it, more so for my genetics, because I knew if I wanted to compete with that lower body, I would have to push more that goes against my genetics. So I said, let's see what my natural genetics push without overdoing it, just so I could get ahead. So again, it does go back to genetics and what you have. If you try to force yourself into a category, take things. That's not just wellness. That might be bikini or figure or bodybuilding. Just depends on what you're pushing yourself against. So going into wellness would be pushing against my genetics,
Yeah.
and figure would be leaning into my genetics. So it's like let the upper body do its thing. Then I don't have to take more stuff. So if you lean into your genetics, I really think that helps you stay on the lower end of things.
Yeah.
So if you push against your genetics, naturally you might have to take more things. And that's just for any category, not just wellness.
Yeah. I mean, two of our teammates on with my coach, she did her she did just nationals this actually weekend. This was her first ever national show. I think she was class A. She got fourth in the class, and she did well at her first show. But this was like, I'd say it was a great end of her career. But Tommy, he was in classic physique. He did nationals NPC nationals at the end of the year 2 years ago, and he did not place at all. And then this year he moved up, but he got eighth place, and he was like a light heavy. He was just trying to strain himself to make that weight, and he goes like, I was 1 pound under my weight cap, but I came in flat. And he goes, I'm like, yo, Tom, you look crazy. He's like, John, I look like shit. Literally, I had this conversation before. Like, John, I look like shit. It's like, and but that it's competitive, and even at the national level, even though there's less competitors, the quality that we have here at every show is really high. So
Yeah,
that's what I'm seeing. It like people like, oh, we have too many pro cards. Like, yeah, but we have high quality. And then you see the pro level, like you're seeing that's what I feel like the IFBB is meant for. People who are like genuinely exceptional, like you, and make it to the Olympia stage. The genuinely exceptional, 1 to 5% of the world. You know. And then this morning, Tommy's like, I'm not gonna. I'm like, I'm 28. I think he said he's like 29, 30 years old. He's like, I'm 29, 30 years old. You know what? I'm going to be doing light heavyweight in the open and I'm going to be 192. It's like, I feel like I'm much better at 192, 198 than stringing myself down to getting
Right.
below 183. So obviously letting your genetics
Yes.
grow into it. You saw Uris, the classic guy, and he did two open shows. He won both of them. And he was like, he was kind of discouraged going into the Olympia, going like, in my time in classic, I've never been outside the first call out. He goes, this is gonna be my first time. He don't know if he's gonna do well. He's like, you know what? See how you do, and then come back and see. So he wind up getting 13th. You know, now he sees who's ahead of him and what he's got to work on and to improve on that. So I feel like letting your body naturally progress into that. Me, I'm in classic, but if I have a hard time in classic just with weight and stuff, then maybe open, then take my time into it and let it grow, into something competitive. So when you started back in bikini, and this is a good question to ask you, did you ever consider figure, or you kind of like no? Because
Uh,
I love that figure era with Aaron Stern. I will tell you this, that was one of my favorite figure physiques. Aaron Stern, Candice Lewis, Nicole obviously Wilkins was won 4 titles.
I thought about it at the time because obviously it was brand new to me. So I was like, let's just start with the very first category of where amateurs can just like tip their toes in or dip their toes in the waters to see like where I can go with this. And I just didn't really know what to do. I didn't have any real direction. I didn't have a coach at the time, so I did it myself. So I didn't have like another set of eyes to be like, "Oh, you should do this," or "Oh, you should do that." It was
Hmm.
just kind of, let's see what happens. Let's do this. But now looking back, I wish I hired a coach at that time to be like, "Hey, maybe you should try figure." Maybe I would have tried it a lot sooner, like 10 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, it was. I feel like it's better to, like you said earlier, you're better in your prime in your 30s, and I think that you're seeing that at this level now with how competitive things are. You're seeing some of the best pros. Yeah, there are exceptional athletes, like that Anton kid who just qualified at 21, but he turned pro at 19. But going into like you said waiting until later in life, and I feel like that's kind of me. You have a natural athlete, Riley Walsh, and she looks incredible. Um,
Yeah.
so does she want to be natural for a long time? And how old is she right now? Like,
She's 27, I think she
okay.
is.
So she wants to be as natural as she wants to, or just she only wants to compete as a natural competitor.
For now. And I always say, like, try to max out your natural potential first
Yes.
before you try anything.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think she's tapped out yet. So I said, as long as you still want to be natural, we'll keep going with the natural route.
Yeah.
And I do feel like a lot, not a lot, but a good amount of coaches don't want to take the time and the effort it takes to actually train and coach a natural athlete because I feel like details are even more important for a natural athlete because obviously their window of growing is a lot longer compared to somebody who's enhanced. So you have to make the most of their time because it's going to take more time to build, more time to cut down as well. So I always feel like you need to pay attention to the details even harder for those athletes as a coach.
Yeah. And so for you, when you were competing, how long were you natural and then you decided to, you know, decide to take it to the next level?
I'm 38 now. I think I started in 2021.
Okay.
So yeah, just 4 years. But again, I was like, I didn't want to touch anything. Even when I was doing CrossFit, that was a big faux pas. That's a big no-no. So you get put on like a shame list if you do any kind of enhancement. So I stayed away from everything until 2021.
And how old were you in 2021 at the time?
So 4 years ago, so I was 34.
Okay. Let's see, like you were better. It was a better time. And I think people should wait. Look, I'm 30 years old now. It was in May when I started work with my, when I was in, I started working with my coach this year in February, but he wanted to see like what I could do just naturally as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Never done anything, never, like I didn't know what anything was until maybe I was 24, 25, and I kind of looked and obviously did my research and everything. I was like I know what I'm getting into. You know, 1 month before my 30th birthday, he just said, Testy, Glenn, yeah, Himbine. That's it. He wanted to see how I respond, and it was very little. And he's like, I'm happy that you waited for a long time and that you're not doing this too early because it's like obviously you've trained for many years and you've built a great foundation. I was like, okay, he tells me this, John, like when you're ready, when you've built a physique that is good enough to step on a national stage and to be a contender for a pro card, that's when I know I'll let you know. Like, but I need to see consistency out of you. He goes, just take your time into it and obviously wait longer, wait till the right time. And if you just waited longer, you're going to have that longevity in the sport and you're going to see the best quality athlete. And for you to do that and to say that you did it at that age, it's like, it's good because you kind of like, I know what I want. I'm more mature. I always think, when you have your prefrontal cortex and you're not doing anything out of like, I know how we live in this instant gratification. I mean, some people, you're not, they're not like I just had her on. I just had my episode today with Draja Hill. She went from, well, she's a natural athlete and she's still natural. She went from overall winner at North Americans, won on her pro debut, qualified for Olympia, did the Arnold Classic. Then she went 14th, 6th, 4th place. That is just rare people. And we always say genetics are a big thing. And, we have to see everybody and their response and how they do things. But I feel like people see like they accomplished something so fast, so they want it so early. But it's like, no, just wait, wait
Yeah.
and then be as natural as you possibly can. And then you do this for a long time, you're consistent with it, then decide that. And you're a great coach and you're a perfect example of doing that, Jeni. So, I
Well,
appreciate what you have to say for that.
thank you. And I also have a men's physique competitor who's natural too. Manuel actually had no interest in coaching men whatsoever, but I coached his wife in wellness. And they're like, please, Jeni, we love you. And I go, okay, let's all of us go into this knowing like I've never like coached a man going into a competition, but I just have to learn your body. And I really think that's the name of the game to be a good coach is you just learn your athlete's body and what the criteria is calling for. So I did all of my research and everything, and that was his first uh, natural year, and we actually did the weeder. He qualified for that, and I said, let's do it like I did for myself, going against Urish at Universe. Let's just see how you stack up to see what we need to do further. I knew he had to grow. He needs to do a long growing season, but I am damn happy with the conditioning that we brought for both my athletes, actually, for Riley in the pro wellness category, and then Manuel the next day in the amateur men's physique. So even the judges said, like, we nailed the conditioning, we nailed the overall look. So I said, great. Now all we have to do is build. We did a little recomp. We had a couple weeks to recomp before we actually started the prep. And that's me also testing him out to see like what he responds to more, what his body needs, what it doesn't need at the same time. So I think if you look at his profile, he posted a really nice like before and after. Like, wow, we came a long way from your starting point. So I'm not trying to toot my own horn as a coach, but I like to think I'm pretty good at what I do of learning athletes, and I love the sport so much. And it's you taking the integrity of yourself as a coach. They're paying for your time. Okay. And whatever time that an athlete loses with their coach, say, I hired a crappy coach for 16 weeks. I just wasted 16 weeks of my life and hard work when I made zero progress. And it's like, I make them have the most of their time. This was his very first season. I said, I'm going to make it the best for him. And any athlete that I have, it's like you are investing time into me. And if you lose that time, you can't get it back. So I want you to have the best that you can out of this experience, all the highs and lows. I'm there with you from the start to teach you the mental game at the same time. But everybody gets the most out of their time with me.
I mean, I'm going to go to Manuel, but I mean, Riley's just amazing, just overall physique. I like everything about how she presents the physique, you know,
Hmm.
the green suit. That's how I know her by
Yeah.
everything. So, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
She's an athlete.
I know, right?
And I really think it is harder for natural athletes because they don't recover as quickly. So that's something else you have to factor in is like when they might need an extra rest day occasionally, or when they don't know when to take a rest. You as a coach have to be able to pinpoint that, like, all right, you need extra rest before they even know that they need it.
I'm going to go into another question, but I'm going to go to him. Manuel. So this is his. How did he do it? This was this a pro his pro qualifier?
We went into it knowing we needed to grow and to see what we needed to do. But I said, I think this is good for research just to see yourself up against these other men to one, light a fire under your ass to be like, oh, I got to work harder and step this up even more, and two, to see like how much muscle we actually need to put on him.
So how did he do here?
He got second call outs, I believe.
Okay, that's not bad for his first national show. Obviously, he's got a lot to grow into, and I mean, I don't know much about men's physique criteria as much, but I think you did pretty well. You did very well with him.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I have a serious question to ask, and I know this has kind of been talked about. Um, in the USA, who do you believe is like a? I mean, you could toot your own horn if you want to, but who do you believe is a top wellness coach in the USA for the on the pro level? I feel like there are a lot of more people successful on the amateur side than there are on the pro level. But who is like right now, like in the USA, like a good wellness coach?
I really think you have to base it off of not just numbers, but quality of athletes as well.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of people toot a certain coach just because look at their numbers. Does that mean they're a great coach, though? I actually keep a very small roster myself to make sure I have quality athletes on stage. It's not just about a number and cranking people out on stage.
Yes.
So, say like some of the bikini coaches have like 30 girls going to a national show. Well, the probability of one of them turning pro is just based on the numbers, correct?
Yeah.
And decent presentation. So, yes, I might only put one or two on stage, so our probability of turning a pro card is a lot smaller than somebody else. So, actually, for the best wellness coach in the US, sorry, I'm going to toot myself as the best wellness coach in the US because.
No, no, it's perfectly fine
Uh,
because you've been through it, and
mhm,
you said one of the best things you keep your roster small because you want quality athletes.
mhm,
It's not about quantity, it's the quality of athlete because
yeah.
when they get to that pro level, they're ready for anything ahead. And I think I think even the Reddit page is like Jeni Snax. I'm like, I think she's the best coach in wellness right now.
Yeah, I might fly under the radar just because I don't have the numbers, but I've seen firsthand being an athlete under those coaches that have a lot of numbers. You feel like just a number. You feel like just an assembly line, like they don't really care. You're just a money maker for them. And am I getting the best program? No, I'm probably getting a cookie cutter plan, maybe a couple updates just so that you can say like you did something for your job. And I'm not a fan of salesmen either. I'm not a salesperson. So that's probably why I'm not all over the place with stuff is you get what you get with me. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. And you're going to experience it. If you talk to anybody else on my team, that's what you're going to get. Everybody's pretty open and honest about it. So again, I just don't like any little fluff. And for consults too, I've heard people say like, "Oh, I spent like $60 to talk to somebody for like an hour." I go, if they couldn't sell you in an hour, then they're probably not the coach for you. You should be able to get everything you need to say within 10 to 15 minutes. Be like, here it is. Here's what I provide as a coach. Take it or leave it. I don't need to give you extra fluff for another 45 minutes just to get you to jump on board. If it's a fit, it's a fit. I do not chase people. So it's like, fine, if you want to go somewhere else, good luck. I'll cheer for you. I'll support you.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're going to get what you're going to get. And I don't believe it's a numbers game, it's a quality game.
Yeah. That that is really well said. You know, I've even this nationals, like there were not many big name the big name coaching teams. They did get pro cards, but overall winners, I felt like the bikini overall winner was not with a big name coach. The men's physique overall winner was not with a big name coach, and even some of the other categories, they weren't with the biggest name coaches, you know, that make a lot of pros, the biggest name coaching teams as well. So it's kind of like you're seeing like a lot of new and upcoming coaches. And shout out to, and I'm sorry to say this on here, but shout out to Mike Nassif. He got it was his birthday. He was coaching, he got three girls in bikini, their pro cards. Two won their class, one took second in the class, and then I think men's physique the men's physique guy was Will Sage. Will Sage's coach from Precision Elite, but he Mike Nassif like gave up everything. Was where he goes, I care about my athletes, and all of them like best birthday present ever. It's like thanks. Like he's a young guy, and I'm like, so it wasn't the biggest thing out, but I looked at his girl that was in C class, and she had a 1 point difference for the first and second place, and I was like, I looked at, she was doing this for many years. She's taken second. She's won an overall in it at an NPC level, and so she did pretty well. But then they gave the E-class girl that he won, that got a pro card, that won her class, like doesn't have the glutes, not developed up. I'm like, you could see his work with her, and you could see over time that she's done. It's a body of, I think people have to look at like a body of work, not just, you'll see this a lot. Like, here's my client in picture A, here's them in picture B, here's me with 4 IFBB pro cards in my hand. Like, come with me. It's like, no, like, you kind of see it and people go, oh, that's the one that's going to help me get it too quickly. Well, it's like a good coach. And I know this is kind of talking about like, we see in the bodybuilding news, like people coach hopping like all constantly, but it takes time for a coach to like know your body and to like know how they respond and what they like, what they don't like, and what training, what exercises they work well for them. So for you, you even mentioned it, you kind of like, how many times is a check-in for you? Like, is it once a week, twice a week? Is it like they message you and you're available?
It depends. Most of the time it's once a week, but as somebody gets closer to a show, or if they're sick, or if they have an injury or ailment, I'm like, send me another check-in. Or if they have a rough weekend, I'm like, just send me another one.
Mm.
Obviously, the closer you get to the show, I watch you like a hawk. So it's like a day, or sometimes a couple times a day, because everybody responds differently. You might have like one of my girls who travels a lot. She just might message me of like, "Hey, can we check in next week?" I'm like, "That's fine." But I know she's always doing the work. So those are the ones I give a little bit more leash when I know what she's doing while she's gone. But there are others that I do have to check in more frequently because they need that accountability or they're going to slip on their plans a little bit. So that's something I have to pick up on as a coach too, to know like, do they need an extra check in occasionally? Or if their schedule changes and they're like, hey, I need to move some things around, I go, send me another check in tomorrow or whatnot, so I can see what's changing. But yeah, I check in as frequently as I can, at least once a week at the minimum. So, and it depends on where somebody's at. I know if somebody in the off season, they like a little bit more leash, and sometimes they feel like an extra check in here and there is a little bit more of a chore. So I said, just please like text me or whatnot what you're doing if something like falls off. So they do have access to me to text me too. Just Sundays are my only like, phone off, like family day. Unless somebody is in a prep, then I treat it like being a doctor on call. So Sundays I will answer because obviously if there's an emergency, I need to be able to help you. Or if you're like out of chicken, what substitute can I do in place of that? It's like I can help you on the spot with that. Um, yeah, I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I do say it's a sun up to sundown sport, whether you're an athlete or a coach. So you never know what can change in the morning versus the evening, and I'll even check my phones after I'll practice with my daughter to be like, did anybody message me? Does anybody need anything right now? So
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly awesome. And I mean, I think we can wrap it up right there, but I really appreciate you coming on. Before you go, I wanted to give you anybody you want to shout out to, any sponsors, what do you want to give?
sure. I will shout out to all my sponsors who have been super awesome since the very, very beginning. So that'll be Ravish Sands, my suit sponsor, Cutler Nutrition. They've always been like a family to me, and Liquid Sun Rays with the best tanning ever. And I just linked up with Yorio Clothing Apparel. So that is brand new to all of the sponsors. But I love that team that's gotten me everywhere from the beginning to up until where I'm at now. And my coach, Carlos from Team Symmetry, and my husband, and my daughter. It's your close group and my friends, Jasmine Amato and Riley Walsh. They're my two OGs on my team, but they've always been my friends too. And I don't like to let a lot of people in, and I only like to keep people around me that I trust and I love. And that group, whether it's sponsors or just my friends or my family, that group means a lot to me. And they've allowed me to be me and chase my dreams. So even putting theirs on hold or theirs on the side, they've always been my biggest cheerleaders. All of them, sponsors, family, friends. So that small group that I mentioned, all of them, they mean a lot to me. So I hope they see this later, that they're just close to my heart. And every time I do a prep and do a show, I do it the best I can, not just for myself, but to show them how much I care and I appreciate them.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate everything that you've done, and I thank you for coming on. I'm finally happy to talk with you, and get to know you. And it's awesome to have people on and bring their stories. I that's a reason why I started this whole why I even started Pro Bikinis Network, and also just bringing athletes on and talking about their stories, because I want people to share their life and their experiences, and maybe people could learn from them. And that's one thing I think people can learn from you, is that you've gone through it and you've been the athlete. You're the coach. You could say from my experiences and what I see work and what does not work, and everyone's different, everyone's individualized. You tell it how it is, and you keep your circle small because you want the best people around you. And you have an amazing husband. Your daughter's, I guarantee, really proud of you. They're saying that you're setting a great example for your daughter. And she's, I don't know, can I ask you something? Do you think she's ever going to compete in bodybuilding, or it's kind of like, no? If she does, will you be like, would you encourage her, like, okay, well,
I would say definitely when she's over 18.
all right.
Too, I want to make sure she has the work ethic for it. So right now she's like a little preteen, so they're all getting into the teenage years, and I just want to make sure the work ethic is there before I say yes. She's got to get through school and let her enjoy being a kid too, because I know how serious it can be. So let her enjoy her school sports with basketball and soccer. And one day, if she comes to me after 18 and she says, I want to try it, like, all right, you got to give it your all, and I'm going to be on you. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome that you're coaching her basketball team as well.
hmm
I
and
mean, go ahead.
with my husband, yeah, he's
Oh,
the head. So he's good at directing the floor, and I'm better at the one-on-one with the girls, like on the sidelines and in practice. And a lot of the mental coaching, I've noticed this year they really need it, and that's what I do on a daily basis with my clients anyway. So it was just a perfect fit, and I really enjoy the mental coaching of this sport too. So
yeah.
that's like this year I'm really enjoying it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's like another thing is like she's 11. You said.
hmm
So she's of that coming of age, and so this is like a time you want to be there, for there, and like it's hard. I remember I think that's another reason why Hani Rambod from Evagen. He stepped away from coaching because his son Cameron is coming of age. He goes, I'm 50 years old. Like I want to be there for him. The time that they really need that, like when they're developing and stuff. So you're doing very well. You're an amazing mother in doing all this, and I commend you for full time athlete coaching, you know, also a coach of a team. It's a lot, but you do it and you manage it so well, and you have the great support around you, and that's what really matters, Jeni. So yeah, I mean, I think you keep that around, you're going to be successful for many years, even whether you get on the Olympia stage or not, or whether any athlete you deal with, you can pass that on to them, and anybody you have, you can pass that on to the next era as well.
I always say I came across a quote a couple years ago. It said, "Leave the world better than you found it."
Yeah,
So eventually, when I retire, eventually when I walk away from a lot of things, it's I hope I left a good mark and a good example for the next generation coming up.
yeah. And you know what, I like that. I really, that is like that great message for you to even put out. And you said, lead by example. I think people are going to look back, and I feel like you're going to be underappreciated, but I will always appreciate everything that you've done. I will always, like, that's a story I will tell you about, how you just kept going, and how you were just like, I believe I could do it, and I'm going to bring out the best of anybody. So with that being
Yeah.
said, Jeni, I really thank you for coming on. I'm so
Oh,
happy to talk with you, and you're an amazing person, by the way.
thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
All right. Well, you take care. All right.
All right, you too.